Old green sunfish right off the bat. There we go. Oh, get out of that. Another green sunfish, about the same size. I'm starting off with a spoon again. I always like to start off with a spoon. So I always do really well. It's a good indication of whether it's going to be a good day or not. If they're not biting on a spoon, you're probably not going to have a very good day in a creek. This is another Smith spoon, same size as the one I was using last time, a little bit more red. I haven't used this one yet. I really like the colors of this one. And it looks like these little sunfish like this one a lot too. It's been a little while since I've been out here, probably a couple of weeks. We've had a lot of rain, and this creek has just been completely flooded. You can kind of tell looking at the bank how just laid over and washed away everything is. Everything's just all this trash piled up and leaves and sticks. It doesn't really do you much good to fish it when it's like that. These native species don't like that kind of flow. I mean, chubs don't seem to mind flow that much, but you're only gonna have so much fun coming out and catching a bunch of creek chubs. Now that we've had a few days without any rain, it seemed to have let everything settle down a little bit, and the fish today seem a lot more active than they have been. I've come out a couple of times, different spots in this creek, just checking the water levels, just seeing, you know, how aggressive the fish are. And this is definitely the best it's been for a while. Hopefully we have a few more weekends like this. One of the cool things about creeks is spots like this. I haven't been out here for close to a year in this specific spot, and it's always different. You've always got, you know, every spring you get a big flood, and it changes it pretty significantly. Some of the bigger holes with bigger features will still be there, but they all change just a little. Now this looks like a really good spot if I can get right up in that flow right there. Oh, a little tiny guy. Hope he didn't scare any of the bigger ones. There's a few in there chasing it, but they're pretty small. One of them looked big enough to eat it. We'll see if we can't coax him back out. Oop. Little tiny long ears. Come on. There you go. Try not to spook any fish that are in there. Very, very small. A little bit bigger, not much. Sure is a lot prettier though. Look at this little guy. It's pretty clear, and seems like most of the fish in this hole are pretty small. one more cast before I move on. Yeah, bunch of tiny little long ears. They're fun. I enjoy catching those little long ears. They're pretty feisty for as small as they are. I'll give y'all a tip that I forget half the time too. I bet you'll only see me do this about 10% of the time. It's just hard to remember, but I'll always get this thing tangled up. It's worse when you have something with 2 hooks on it. One thing you can do though, if you just pull out a foot or so of line, just let it hang, you will never tangle it up. That hole right there looks like a pretty good spot. Let's see if I can just get one right in that hole. Close enough. Ooh. Came out and ate it right in front of me. He's pretty too. He is very, very orange. Look at that little guy. I don't know if the pack of fish that's constantly following this thing shows up on the camera or not, but it's pretty entertaining how many fish will follow this thing. Most of them being way too small to eat it. Ooh. Bass just swiped at it, but the long ear got it. That is a much better long ear than what we've been catching. His colors are really good too. That's kind of the size that you'll see most of them at, especially in little creeks like this. I would love for that bass to come back out, have another go at this. He looked okay, at least for the creek that we're fishing. Don't know where he went. Oh, that was a good green sunfish. Just came out and tagged it, kind of hit it from the side and didn't get the hook. I tell you, this is an aggressive group of fish right here. Some very pretty long ear. I did not mean to set that like that. He went and grabbed it right in front of one that was considerably bigger than him. Had I known it was this little guy, I wouldn't have pulled so hard. Pulled him right out of the water. Sorry about that. Oh, there you go. Just beautiful fish. I tell you what, as fun as this is, I have to get down the creek, and I could sit here in this hole pulling these things out of here all day long. So I am going to switch to something just a little bit bigger. Since they are aggressive, I'm going to switch to something that will just kind of eliminate a few of the smaller fish. Probably a suspending minnow. Some good spots on this stretch of the creek that I don't really remember, and I don't know it that well. The spot I fished before I've been through 100 times, so I'm pretty familiar with all the good spots and the holes in it. So I'll go with something a little lighter like that on a spot that I know doesn't have a lot of technical areas I need to get to. Since I'm not as familiar with this place, and it seems to have some decent more technical holes where you want to be a little bit more accurate, I'm going to go with a little bit heavier suspending minnow. This is also a spearhead ryuki, the same as these, but it's a suspending one. It's a little bit bigger, and I am running drift hooks on it as well, just because I can use it for trout, and I'll pretty much run drift hooks on any smaller minnows I'm using for trout. Since I don't typically run this one super deep, I do have the front hook turned around facing forward, but you know, in a creek like this, I don't really use this one in creeks a lot. If it becomes an issue and I snag a few times, I'll just flip it around. It's not a big deal, and it's very, very quick to do that. One thing that you'll see on pretty much any setup that I use, especially these bait finesse setups, are these tiny little snaps. These are made by Van Fook, the same company who makes the hooks that I use on pretty much all of my jerkbait minnow style lures. These are the thinnest wire snap I have ever even seen, and I've tested them. They rate it to like 10 or 11 pounds. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I have tied these snaps on much heavier setups than this and pulled them until they broke. And it is not the weak link in any setup. I would run these on a much heavier setup with 100% confidence. I don't know if you can see that thing move in the water, but these just have an amazing action. And this one is a suspending minnow, so I don't have to worry about it sinking. I can run it a little slower, and it still has the same erratic action. If you want to kind of burn it, you can do that, and that's really getting them fired up. I don't know if you can see that, but they are chasing it the whole way. Yeah, this is just going to eliminate, you know, sitting here catching 100 little long ears. Even though they are fun to catch, I do need to get down this creek and explore some of these other spots. Come on. Oh, he can get it. I know he can get it. Boy, he's mad at it. That is a pretty one too. Look at that. He is right at my feet. I can't believe how aggressive they are today. This is a lot of fun. I hope it shows on camera, because half the fun right now is watching these things just aggressively attack it. Had my hook tangled up, and he grabbed it wrong and didn't get hooked, but he did untangle it. There's two ways that you can work these, and this counts for these little spinning minnows, jerk baits, the sinking minnows. They all behave a little similarly, these little trout minnows. What you're seeing me doing right now is a lot of just working it with the rod tip. You know, it's easy to control it like that. You can, especially when you can see it really well and you want to slow it down and just kind of dance it around the fish. The other thing I like to do with it, and I'll do this more with the smaller sinking minnows, but it works very well with these too, is since you don't need a lot of movement to impart a lot of action on these little jerk baits, I'll use the reel a lot. And you can use the reel in combination with a little bit of movement from the rod tip, and you can really make that thing go nuts. And depending on how aggressive the fish are, that will really get them fired up sometimes. Right now, I'm just doing it more with the rod tip because this water is fairly shallow. You can end up just hitting the bottom and jumping out of the water and doing all sorts of stuff. So I'm working it a little more carefully in this stuff. It does seem like the fish are having a hard time eating this one though. Always worth a shot, just see if something's hiding in a little hole like that. This is a decent little run right here. Probably a little bit fast. That looks good. The trout fisherman in me really likes seeing stuff like this, even though there's probably nothing that's gonna bite it in here right now. That's slower right there. Might be able to pull something out of the back corner of that. It's a much better spot to use a sinking minnow, but I'm not too confident anything in this hole is gonna bite this anyway, because it is just a little bit fast. So I'm not even gonna switch out. It does get nice and deep right there. I'm surprised nothing came out of that. God, it is a good spot. This is a convergence right here where a little drainage ditch comes into the creek. I would expect there to be bigger, hungrier fish right there. I don't see anything any bigger. Something's popping up there. Looks like little creek chubs. It's a little slower, so there might be a little more water. Ooh, something jumped really good right there. Let's see if there's anything right here. Come on. I think you're gonna do that sometimes. You walk up to a hole that looks really, really good, and your first cast you hang up in some root and probably scare everything. I'm gonna sit here for just a second, see if I can't let everything settle down a little bit. Luckily we are getting very close to a highway, and the fish here are probably used to a little more sound. These runs are still just a little too fast right now. They will get better. These will be a lot better spots here in a couple months when the rain slows down and the flow's a lot slower through here. A big old snake. Look at that guy. He was so red. I don't know if you could see him. It's a good thing he was a little more attentive than I was, or he would have gotten stepped on. Ooh, he had it for a second. It was almost the first fish on this one today. I'm gonna leave it on there because they are chasing it and they are taking swipes at it. And that just tells me that they're not big enough. And that's okay, because we've already caught a handful of fish out here. I don't need to put the spoon back on and hammer a bunch more 4-inch long ears. I'm fine with waiting for a little bit bigger fish. I'm gonna be a little more quiet through here. This is a nice drainage ditch that comes into here and the water is a little bit slower. I'm gonna sneak up here and see if I can cast back in there. This is a very nice looking spot. I fished this once before. I couldn't remember how it was, how deep it was. I've been over it a bunch. It's hard to tell, you know, looking down when you're just on a bike. Bunch of short strikes from those same size of long ear and green sunfish. A little bit tangled on that one. Oh, God. Don't do that. There are fish in here. So far I haven't had anyone successfully be able to eat one of the hooks on this. It's not that big. You'd think any normal size green sunfish would be able to get that, but I've had a few nip at it that didn't get it. So I am going to switch to something a little cheatier. I'm going to switch to a rooster tail. It's got that little treble on the back. And if they are just short striking and you cannot get them to swallow a single hook, a lot of times a treble is your best bet, even though I don't like them. Now I say rooster tail, this one's a little bit different. I've tied up a marabou tail for this, and got a little better hook on it. I'm not sure if that is the same size as the factory one or not, but I've tied this on a swivel headed wire. I don't like using swivels on my leader. If I'm gonna be throwing spinners all day, I'll use a snap swivel on the end of it, but I don't like having a sectional leader and a swivel. I like to just keep my snap on there, and this will let me keep my snap on there, and it lets that thing swivel. It's kind of a rooster tail, just a little bit of an upgraded one. You know, I do like rooster tails a lot in slower creeks because they tend to these little 1/16 ounce rooster tails, they tend to sink pretty slow for something that's almost all weight. They're easy to cast on a bait finesse setup. They sink really, and look, right off the bat we got one. Oh, he came off. But they sink pretty slowly. Oh, he came back. And you don't have to work them fast. That blade will spin at a very low speed. Oh, there he goes. Nope. Boy, they just come out and attack that thing. I know a rooster tail is kind of old school. It's not a super fun lure and cool to look at compared to some of these nice JDM lures, but they are some of the catchiness lures that you can use, and especially when you do a little modification to them to make them a little friendlier for your line and a little more robust. I've got this one tied on a much heavier wire than they come with from the factory, and that is nice. You'll find if you use a rooster tail a lot, they tend to get a little bit bent, and that can affect the action, and you won't really notice that they're bent until it gets so bad that it starts running weird. And just having that little thicker wire that's going to stay a lot straighter is going to, you know, help it perform at its peak all the time. There's another one. Oh, he was dark, whatever that thing was. He's a fat little guy. One of the really cool things about this creek is it is right in the middle of town. Like, we were going right through the middle of a decent sized college town, and there's a decent amount of people here and a few pet stores. And I have on a few occasions over the years seen African cichlids in waterways like this. South American cichlids, they're a little harder to spot. You know, I'm sure I've seen some South American cichlids too and just didn't realize that they tend to look a little more like the native fish that we have here, at least at a distance from out of the water. But it is hard to miss something like a Tanganyikan cichlid. And, you know, they're not going to make it through the winter or probably even the late fall. But it is cool when you're working something through a pile of rocks and you see a little colorful African cichlid dart out and swipe at it, and I have sat in spots for way too long trying to coax one back out. I've never caught one out of here, but I have seen them on 2 occasions in here. And seeing that super dark fish made me think about that. Ooh. Well, we did get a bass today. You know, he flopped out of my hand before I got a chance to weigh him, but I'm pretty confident we didn't break any records with that one. That one is a little bit better. Chunky little bluegill. It's a little better. See if I can get right in the back corner of that. There are quite a few bigger bluegill right in here. See, it's fun. We're back to doing this again, and it's just fun. God, look how pretty these things are. Green sunfish. We're about to get every species in this creek on a rooster tail. That shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. These things are very effective, and you know, like I said, it's not as glamorous as some of these cool JDM lures, but God, when you fix one up and make it nice and make it perform a little bit better, it's kind of cool. They cast well. There's no shortage of action on them. He was a little better. He actually pulled a little bit of drag. Something tells me there is going to be a big fat green sunfish in this hole. I got a little bird's nest. Stopped to pull it out, and why that thing sank, that creek chub hit it. That one's a little better fish. There's that big green sunfish I was hoping was in the hole. I wouldn't say he's big, but compared to the average size we've been getting today, there he goes. Right at my feet. Another little baby. There's a good hole on both sides of me. I'm having a hard time deciding which one to cast in. I was trying not to talk because there was just about a dozen fish and several different species all just hanging out there together, following it, nipping it. One of them was a little bit bigger bass. What is he? I just never cease to be amazed at the size of fish that you'll catch. Oh, come on. There we go. Oop. Right out of the snag. A little more orange on that guy. Oh, no, come on. There we go. Come on, stay out of that tree. There we go. By the way, that was not a good spot to cast from. See, the smart thing to do would be to cast from over here. Ooh. That's an okay bass that just came out to chase that crawdad. That's the first decent fish I've seen in here. There he is. That feels a little better. But it's not. His colors, though. Wow. This is a good looking long ear. I wish the sun would come back out for a second so you could see how pretty this one is. Definitely the best color on one we've gotten today. Tell you what I'm gonna do, since I know there is a bigger bass and I just saw him chase after a craw, I am gonna give him a craw. And luckily, since I have done a little rearranging of tackle and I have a good variety with me today, I have a craw to give him. I haven't played with these much at all. I did take one out not too long ago and just exclusively used that. It was the smaller size and it did very, very well. This is a Rebel wee craw, another very common lure. I never used them because it's just what everybody uses in a creek, and that's not that fun. But I could not resist some of these newer colors they have. I mean, that looks so good and so realistic. I don't know if the molds have more texture than they used to, or if it's just the shading on this, but that looks so much more 3D. Now, I have changed out the hooks. Hardly anything you get comes with good hooks, and I like to change out for singles when I can. With this one though, it doesn't really sink. I didn't really hit the bottom at all with it when I was using it, so I didn't have to worry about the bottom hook snagging. So I wanted something that would kind of have the profile of legs and tuck up under that body. So I'm using these double hooks, and I guess if you wanted to be real picky, you could say these kind of look like antenna. I don't think that's going to fool any fish, but I don't think the fish are going to care about it. But I haven't used this this middle size yet. I've thrown it around a little bit, but it was the small one, the teeny wee craw, whatever it's called. That's what I was catching a bunch of fish on the other day. But I think this thing is going to do pretty well. It's got a, when it swims, it doesn't have the action that a crawfish would have, but what it does have is that same action, that slow, lazy wobble like a lazy Ike would have. And lazy Ikes are surprisingly good. Their action is great. Something had it right there. I'm gonna go right back up here, see if anything in this hole wants that. It's getting some interest, not by anything big enough to eat it. Ooh, decent green sunfish right there. Smacked it a couple of times. See if he'll come back a third time. Yeah, he did. It's not real big, but he is very healthy. A little bitty guy. that was a decent little leg of the creek. It's kind of loud right here. A couple of roads all go over it. A couple of main roads right through the middle of town. I'll tell you what though, I am glad that I packed a good variety for today, because although I am probably the first one to want to use, you know, higher end JDM tackle, and yes, I do sometimes snub my nose at stuff like Rebel wee craws or rooster tails. It was the simple things that did really well today. You know, we started out really good on the spoon, but in reality, this spoon is no different than a small little Clio, which, you know, I know it's a lot smaller, but you know, Daredevil has some small spoons now that are very similar to this. You know, the high-end Duo Spearhead couldn't get anything to eat it. You know, I did get plenty of attention with it. It got smacked a few times, but yeah, you switch to that rooster tail and you're just hammering them left and right. It's good to always have a variety, because you never know what's gonna get them. And I think that'll be a decent spot to end it for today.